Hey there, Salt Strong family, this is Pat Ogletree, and in this video I want to talk to you about some topwater lures, but specifically I want to talk about some topwater lures that are easy for beginners to use. Now, topwater lures are some of my favorite ways of catching fish. It's very exciting, it's very effective, but I do understand that even for new beginners, they can be a little intimidating, but I've got three lures here that I want to show you that even beginners can use. Now, the first one that I want to show you is going to be the chugbug. If you're not familiar with this lure, this is basically a 3.5-inch lure that has got a concave shape on it, and it's got some internal rattles. You can hear them right there. And that between that concave face, it actually makes a popping noise when you're working it, or a splashing noise, and those internal rattles, that's really what does the work on calling those fish in. And what really makes this easy for beginners, it's kind of like the popping cork of lures. What I like to do with the lure is I like to throw it out there and let the ripples dissipate, and then give it a couple of quick pops, and then let those ripples dissipate again, and just repeat that motion. And that's a good starting point. So you can vary this, and you'll want to vary this depending on what the fish are telling you. If you're not getting any strikes right away and you're seeing some surface feeding activity around, then you can change up your cadence and put some harder pops in there, put some longer pauses in there, put more pops in there in between there. But it's one of those things where you can just change it up until you find what the fish likes. It's a really effective lure, and that is the chugbug. Now, the next lure that I would like to talk about is the KVD. This one's made by Strike King. This is the 2.5 wake bait, and I like to refer to this as the paddle tail of topwater lures, because that's exactly how you work it. You basically throw it out there and you just do a straight retrieve. It's a real easy lure to use, and it's really effective. I have caught some really nice redfish on it. Matter of fact, this type of lure actually seems to catch the bigger fish that are in the area, and it's really good when the fish are actively feeding. So the situation that I like using these lures in is when the wind is up a little bit and there's a little chop in the water. I like throwing a wake bait on there because the fact that it puts off so much vibration and it's got this really loud rattle in it, it calls fish from a long ways. And when there's a lot of commotion in the water, when there's a lot of waves and there's a lot of sound being out there, you need something out there that can overpower that and the fish can find it. And that's exactly what this is for. It works really, really good. Now, another situation that I like to use this in is when I'm fishing for schooling fish. There's been a couple scenarios lately that I found a school of redfish and was able to catch them. But in the midst of fighting the fish, I actually wind up losing the school, so I had to search for the school again, and I used this KVD wake bait, and I was able to locate those schools and catch more fish out of them. It's a really cool setup. Now, if you want to try any of these lures that I'm talking about, I do recommend going to fishstrong.com, where we have them on our shop page, and the insiders will get an extra 20% off on tackle. Now, the third lure I'd like to talk about is going to be the Moonwalker. Now, I know in the beginning I said that these lures are for beginners, but the one thing about a Moonwalker, walk the dog type lure, is this technique is definitely worth learning even for a beginner. But the difference is the type of lure that you use. Now, there are some lures out there you can walk the dog, but they're more difficult to do it just because of the way that the lure sits in the water. For instance, that chugbug that I was talking about earlier, when that sits in the water, it's almost flat in the water. Now, you can walk the dog with the chugbug, but it's more difficult. You really have to have, a lot of experience and have that cadence down pat pretty good in order to get that lure to walk. Now, with the Moonwalker, what happens with this lure is it sits lower in the water column in the back, and what that allows you to do is when you twitch that bait, it doesn't just move across the surface like this, it will actually zigzag back and forth like it's supposed to. So a lure like the Moonwalker is easier to learn with, and trust me, when you learn the cadence of the walk the dog motion, it really makes your topwater game up to the next level. You can really dial in the fish, and it's just a technique that's tried and true, and it works great in a lot of different situations. So for beginners, I do recommend learning how to walk the dog with the Moonwalker. Now, going on to the equipment that you're going to use, it doesn't take any special equipment to use these lures. That's another thing that works great with these topwaters and beginners. You don't have to have a specialty setup. I like using a 7-foot or a 7.6 medium power rod, 10-pound braid, but I will put a 30 30-pound monofilament leader on all my topwaters, and I'll make my connections using a loop knot. Now, if the lure does come with a split ring on the front of it, I'll remove that split ring and use the loop knot instead. I believe that it just gives you less points of failure, and that loop knot is going to give you the action that you need. You can use a snug knot, but the problem with a snug knot is it doesn't let that lure swing the way that it needs to, so it does impair the action a little bit. So loop knot, 30-pound monofilament, 10-pound braid on a 7 to 7/6 medium power rod is all you need. So as a wrap up, what I like to start beginners out with is the chugbug, especially if the water is calm. It's a real easy lure to work, and you just throw it out there, you let it pop it a couple times. If the wind is up, then I do like using the KVD wake bait. Like I said before, it's pretty much the paddle tail of topwaters. This is a lure that you simply throw it out there and then you let it reel straight in. You don't have to do anything fancy to it. And then lastly is going to be the Moonwalker, and that's going to be what I want people to learn how to do, walk the dog action, because it is an easier lure to learn this action. So if you're ever fishing with anybody that just doesn't have the skill set to use a lot of these topwater lures, these are the 3 lures that I recommend. Now, if you've got some lures out there that you like to recommend to beginners, I'd like you to put those down in the comments below. I'd like to hear about those too. Now, if you ever wanted to try any of these lures, I'm going to put the link down below so you can click on those and it will take you directly to the shop page so you can purchase those. I really do appreciate it. And as always, thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you. Have a good day. Bye. And if you're new to Salt Strong, just know that we are the best online fishing club in America, where we guarantee that we will help you catch more fish like sea trout, redfish, snook, and flounder, while saving you money on all the inshore tackle you need, and you'll make friends fast, or it's free. For more information, go to saltstrong.com, and until then, we hope to see you in the Insider Club soon. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.